Okay, here we are, continuing with the Mussar part that the Chafetz Chaim wrote for Shmiras HaLashon. Because if during these days we're doing a Tikkun Bris HaLashon, it has to be accompanied, Bris HaMa'or, it has to be accompanied with Tikkun Bris HaLashon. The two Britot are aligned, like we explained yesterday, and this is a real fire and brimstone Mussar work about being careful with your speech. And like I said yesterday, Rabbi Chana Wassman, this section of Shmiras HaLashon was his Mussar book for Mussar Seder and Yeshiva and Branovich. Okay, without further ado. Um, it seems he wrote this, second. This is like the Ma'adura Bras. This is the Mishnah Achrona. He wrote the halacha parts first, as he's about to say. Um, All right, what's up to here? Every Jew wants to keep the whole Torah perfectly and not be missing any part of it whatsoever. Right, as the pasuk says, that's Koisor Hashem Chel Kulam Abba, Shanema Vamech Kulam Tzadikim, right? Which he understands, which also the conventional pshat. Is that I'm so really want to do the right thing, at least for sure our heart's in the right place, that we want to be tzaddikim. Tzaddikim means we uphold the law totally. Achasibas and Megias constantly litrapas midas hakadusha shel shmiras halashon rabos heina v'nevarim yitz Hashem l'kam b'fnim barchava. Right now, the reasons, the causes that cause many people to be a little bit weak in the kedusha of watching the tongue are many, and we will explain them further in the book at great length. But there are three main reasons that we'll steer into directly right now. So now, reason number one is simple ignorance. You do not know what is Usser out Lashon Hara. This could be Lashon Hara. Ignorance of the halacha. And that's where we have part one and part two of book Chafetz Chaim. Like I said, generally Chafetz Chaim per se goes on the first two sections, which are halacha. Right. So I dealt with reason number one with my book on the halachas of Shmiras HaLashon, Sefer Chafetz Chaim per se, do halakim. Right. So that's to take care of causation number one for people being a little bit lax in Lashon Hara. But the second cause, Sibas is Garbas Hayetz Shesh Bein Hazeh. They should know that the Yetzer Hara is very strong. The Yetzer Hara for Lashon Hara is very, very strong. Shebazeh Yelo Koch Kachkalev Lo Yikubat Tosei Lamala Kamashkaz B'Fnim B'Shema Zoyer HaKadosh. Because one of the outcomes of speaking Lashon Hara is that so now your mouth is contaminated. And that affects your davening, right? And your davening is now tainted because it comes out of a tainted mouth, and our tefillos are not, accepted. That's why the Yetzer Hara wants to dafka seduce you into talking Lashon Hara, because with that, the Yetzer Hara doesn't just, make you do another avera, but he is also poigem your koach hatfila, and that gives him more power. Like right now, with what's going on in Eretz Yisrael, we daven, but our tefillos readily accepted. Being guilty of Lashon Hara will lower the chances of our tefillos being fully accepted. As it says in the name, we write in the book, in the name of the Zohar HaKadosh, like I said, this book has a plenty of Zohar in it, because that's the cloud. Wherever you find Yiras Shamayim and Tikkun Amidas and Avar Shem Bemes, there you will find Zohar, because the Torah of Rashbi is all about Yiras Chet, all about Yiras Chet, right? And all about Tikkun, and confronting Ra. Not like others say, but we're not going to be machriv, especially for learning about Shmiras HaLashon. Gimel, and the third cause, right? There's another thing. We don't know the stratagems of how to outsmart the Yetzer Hara. Right? There are ways, as the pasuk says, It's one of the. I believe it's in Mishlei, but I can't say for sure. But it sounds like one of the psukim from one of the books of Shlomo HaMelech. Ubetachbul talks about with strategies, right? You will do war, right? There are ways to outsmart the Eitzara. He's smart, but it is possible for us to outsmart him, but we don't have those strategies. So therefore writing this third section. Like I said, this was the book that he wrote last. This is the Mishnah Achrona. This book collects from Agadata, from Shas, and Midrash, and Zohar. That talks about the great punishment that you'll get in this world and in the next because of this very bitter sin of Lashon Hara. Also, we're going to talk the positive, of all the great reward in this world and the next. Lashon is the one who watches his mouth and his tongue. So now, this book itself has multiple sections, multiple gates. Shar Aleph, the first gate in this book is called Shar Aschira. All right, the gate of remembrance. Al Shem HaKosov, this is, alluding to the pasuk, Zacharis Asher Miriam, that we are, commanded to remember what Hashem did to Miriam because she spoke Lashon Hara. All right, it's a machlokas, the Rambam and the Ramban, if that's actually one of the 248 positive commandments, but the Rambam, Shmiras, as he points out in the Sefer Chafetz Chaim, right, in the Ber Mayim Chaim over there. It's the Rambam admits that there's an obligation to remember and think about what Miriam did. The only machlokas is whether it's a separate mitzvah saseh, like the Ramban counts as one of the 248. But either way, the pasuk says before, remember what Hashem did to Miriam, so as you don't do Lashon Hara. As well, Mamrei Chazal, you're also going to mention other Mamrei Chazal that we have to awaken, that awaken us, and that remind us of the same idea of how bad Lashon Hara is. And we also worked hard and we collated from the words of Chazal, some strategies and advice. Right, how to save ourselves from the traps that the Yitzhar lays for us to make us nichshol in this sin of the tongue. Hopefully, through this, everyone will try to get wiser. And to overcome Yitzhar of loss of his cause, and a person should try to remove from himself all the causes that can distract him, and derail him from attaining the midah of kedusha that you get from Shmiras HaLashon. And that's why, because we also have these ideas, these strategies, and these these ways to overcome, that's all part of the second gate of the book, which we call Shar Tvuna, the book of understanding. And this is reminiscent of the pasuk V'navon, understanding, person with understanding. Tachbos Yikneh, he acquires strategies, right? So we're going to give you strategies how to overcome the Yetzer Hara, how to outsmart him, how to outthink him. And also, we're also going to explain in that same, in this book, in this section, this third section of the grand, work of Chafetz Chaim / Shmiras HaLashon, we're going to also in this book also we're going to explain other midas that are very needed if you want to be a Chafetz Chaim. So Nitzol Shon Chamera Usfasecha Medaber Mirma, but the pasuk goes on. Sur Meira V'aseh Tov Bakei Shomra Feos. We're going to talk about other midas that a person needs to be coned to be truly a Ish Chafetz Chaim. And of course, these midas that are also necessary to be a Chafetz Chaim, these midas also refine your character to also be in a better position to be a shomer piv v'lashono, right? To guard your mouth and tongue. Because beyond b'shei shomer rishon shalzeh. Now, all of the above is what we explain in the first two gates of this book. Shara, who Shara, Gimel Shara Torah. Hakol Kol HaSha'arim, and then there's a third section to this book. This book, which is the third section of the grand work Chafetz Chaim, there's a third section to this book, which in itself is the third of coming after the first two halakim of the Chafetz Chaim of the halachas. All right, so now there's a third shar in this section that we're currently learning, Shara Torah, which is the gate of Torah, which is inclusive of all the shar commands, the da chaser, ma kani, da kani ma chaser, right? Because listen, Torah learning, having das Torah is like the Chazal say: if you're missing das Torah, what have you acquired? Right? And if you have this, what are you missing? Because Talmud Torah connected kulam. And it's also a tikkun to be an ish chafetz chaim, because one of the things that Chazal themselves say, that if you are nichshel lashon hara, your tikkun will be in Talmud Torah, in Talmud Chacham Yasef B'Torah. Because now we're talking not just in the negative, not speaking lashon, we're talking about the positive of how you sanctify your speech by divrei Torah. And also once we'll talk about also the great schar of a person who supports his children in learning, by educating them and enabling them to learn, and other things that branch out from that. Now, because in this third volume of the grand work, Chafetz Chaim, is so valuable in its own right. So many things in it that every Jew's got to know. So it's not just like an appendix to the first two Chafetz Chaim. It's so chashuv in its own right, because so many things for the Jew to know and to uphold them. Right? This book is more dear to me, even in a certain way dear to me, more dear to me than the first two. I don't view it as an appendix to the Chafetz Chaim, right? Even though it's technically the third chelik of the Sefer Chafetz Chaim, right? But it's so dear to me. I gave it its own name, Hashem Shashem Yikare, and that's what we said at the beginning of this. I'm calling this section Shmiras HaLashon per se. So the first one is called, Chafetz Chaim, in parentheses, it's about Shmiras HaLashon because that's the topic, but it's Chafetz Chaim. This is called Shmiras HaLashon per se. Because relating to the pasuk of Lashon, Yishmor Tzoros Nafsh, the pasuk we opened up with. But also you should know, dear reader, even if this book finds favor in your eyes, he should not think that this third section is enough. Right? Because if you need the first two books, for the man who wants to be a true Chafetz Chaim, right? Because you got to know the halachas. As he says, Kedisa, as it says in B'Medrash Mishlei, L'das Chachma Mussar, to know Chachma and Mussar, Im Yesh B'Ro Shalom Chachma, V'Ro B'Yadam Chachma, and Chol Mussar, you need Chachma and Mussar. So the first two chalakim, which are halachas, that's the Chachma, and this third chalak is the Mussar. Right? Because look, if you don't know what the halacha is, Mussar won't help, because it'll never occur to you that there's anything wrong. So you must, I got to do the right thing. I got to do the right thing. Oh, if I do the wrong thing, right? But you don't know what's right, what's wrong, if you don't know the halachas. Right? You could easily understand that. A person could learn a lot of Mussar of how you shouldn't steal, never take anything you don't deserve, never, ever, ever, right? And you could be really real with it, scream it from the rooftops and not just fake it. Really be real with it. But still, if you don't know that something's Usser, als Gezel, all that Mussar is not going to help. You're going to think that this is just how you do business, how you make a living, right? So you got to know Choshen Mishpat, right? It's a big thing, yeah. People have to learn Choshen Mishpat. We spend most of our days in pursuit of livelihood, which involves business. We have to learn Choshen Mishpat, Rabbi Say. It's really something that should be done. I mean, I'm sure there have been some books that have been put out. They're like a Mishnah Berurah on Choshen Mishpat, But we have to learn Choshen Mishpat. Um, I just can't help. I'm reminded of a famous story of Yisrael Salanter. Yisrael Salanter was pushing Talmud Chacham to, listen, you're good. You cut out for it. You should be a Rav. I think you'll do great as a Rav. And Rabbi Salanter didn't say it just to anybody. He was saying, and he wasn't because that's the party line. Rabbi Salanter was, Ish Emes, I felt this person was really talented. He would make a great, posek and spiritual leader. And so the guy said, to the Rabbi Salanter, I'm afraid of the achrayus of paskening. You get Hilchos, in a Hilchos Nida, however, or so it's really, really stringent. That's something to really be scared about. But even in Trefus, I might say the wrong psak. And be machshva. I'm afraid. I don't want the responsibility. So I say, okay, if you say so, but what are you going to do instead? So you're not going to be a Rav. I'm going to go into business. I think, I think I have a good business head. You say you're not going to bus because you're afraid you'll be nichshel. Do you know in business, with Aina, Ribis, Gezel, over there, you're not afraid. It's true. We have some lachos snas rabbanos. Rabbanos over there in that Mishnah means high political office, but nonetheless, many people say it could be understood literally. There are a lot of nisyanos from rabbanos, but if you really knew Choshen Mishpat well and Hilchos Ribis well, you'd see how many nisyanos there are, in everyday business. Okay. But anyway, he says there's no different. You got to know what's mutter and what's usher. Otherwise, all the Mussar in the world won't help because you imagine that there's nothing wrong. Yeah. I only want to do the right thing, right? But you just it never occurred to you that this is wrong because you don't know the halacha, right? The Kai got us also B'shar Yanaton all in Yonim of Torah. Okay, tzarich lumod as dinei Torah. That's why you have to know all the halachas of Torah. You should really know what's also what's Galim Lotus in Yonim Mussar. Maybe that you have to do both. You have to first know the halacha. What is, and they also have the Mussar to motivate you to uphold the law, right? There's Yizar Nafsu Kaims of Torah. That's where Mussar is what's going to. G you up, fire up your soul to uphold the Torah. Such a fact that when you learn Mussar, you're Makayim the mitzvah of Zes Hashem Okecha Tira, because Mussar, that's exactly what it does. It puts fear of God into your heart, which is what the Torah of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is all about. And so I just can't keep on, against these people that think Kabbalah is all about airy-fairy, and it's halacha that's so judgmental. You learn the Torah of Rashbi, you are so scared to just think the wrong thing, right? So first of all, when you learn Mussar, and there's no bigger Mussar than what you find in Sefer HaZayar, right? So you're Makayim Mesjog Hechatira, V'chinai Binyaneinu, and also over here, and regarding our issue of, Shmiras HaLashon. The Mayolo call Mussar Mamadan Begolas HaLashon. What's going to help you? Even though I'm writing this great book that I love, and I'm calling this third section of the Chafetz Chaim Shmiras HaLashon per se. I'm calling it Shmiras HaLashon per se. And we said, and it's so dear, but how's it going to help you with all the Mussar in the world? Right? All the Mussar tells about the terrible Issa Lashon and Rechilas, Achrei She'etil Naf Shalomar, the She'ein Davar Zenichras B'Chal, but after you just assume you're matter because you just can't imagine that this is such type of speech. It's called Lashon Rechilas. Or Sheish Kazel Lo Tzivta Torah. Lo Tzivta Torah Bis Lashon. And this guy is also, the Torah command us not to be nichshel on Isser Lashon Hara. Right. Okay. Muchadam later is therefore a person has to know what's called Lashon Hara. Al Pi Din, right? Al Pi Din. You have to know the halachas of what's called Lashon Hara. what is called Lashon Hara, who it's also speak Lashon Hara about. You're a little more some Mussar, and then after that, once you know right from wrong, then you learn the Mussar to be motivated, right, to uphold what you know to be right and to avoid what you know to be wrong. We have to first know what's right and what's wrong, and then learn the Mussar to be motivated to uphold the right and to stay far away from the wrong. Of course, the Mussar is right. Involves knowing the great, the consequences. Right. No greater Mussar than just understanding the consequences of your action. Right. Think about it. There's no greater motivation to stay away from crime when and doing all evil if you know how badly you'll be punished for it. And no greater motivation to do what's right if you know what the reward is for it. And also, by the way, knowing the halacha also knows to know when you have to speak out, which technically might be Lashon Hara. We have to speak out against certain people, against certain ideas, right? Because people are promulgating, spreading sheker, right? And I don't have to say it right now out of fear of speaking Lashon Hara, only because, and the reason why I fear is because in my many other videos I put out since the war broke out, I have decried the great charlatans that are out there. And I'm always alluding to it. You have to know when you have to speak. You shouldn't be machmir. When it's a mitzvah to speak out against a person who is misleading the rabbin, okay, a person that's misleading the rabbin, but they also come with his false ideas. Take a look in Chafetz Chaim Klal Ches Sif Hey, which is of the first volume, and the Be'er Mayim Chaim, which is his commentary and further explanation on the bottom. Vokatos, right? Also other benefits. I'm back on Sefer Chafetz Chaim. Right, take a look in Chafetz Chaim. All right, we will stop here for today. But it is powerful stuff, powerful stuff.